Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the dark side of the podcast. I'm your host, Scott, libertarian through and through, constitutional conservative to my core, and unapologetically skeptical of any scheme that smells like big government overreach. If you're tuning in from the shadows where the truth hides from the mainstream glare, you're in the right place. Today, we are diving deep into a topic that's been bubbling under the surface for decades, but feels like it's exploding right in front of our eyes in 2026. I'm talking about the Cloward Piven Strategy, a blueprint for societal collapse disguised as compassion. Now, as a freedom-loving American who believes in limited government, individual responsibility, and the sacred words of our Constitution, I see this for what it is, a monstrous plot engineered by radical leftists to overload our system, to create chaos, and usher in their version of the socialist utopia on the ashes of our republic. And folks, if you're paying attention to the border crisis, the exploding national debt, the endless entitlement expansions, and even that market meltdown that we just witnessed a few hours ago, trillions wiped out in hours, it's playing out like a scripted nightmare. So buckle up, because I'm going to break it down, expose the why, and arm you with the knowledge to fight back. And I say, let's roll. Now, first, I got to set the stage. Who the hell are Richard Cloward and Francis Fox Piven? I got a hunch a couple people in the chat might know, but only a couple people. These weren't just some fringe academics scribbling in obscurity. Cloward was a sociologist at Columbia University, and Piven, his wife, was also a professor there, both deeply embedded in the radical activism of the 1960s. They were political activists masquerading as scholars, influenced heavily by the Marxist undercurrents of the era. In May 1966, they dropped their bombshell in a liberal rag called The Nation with an article titled "The Weight of the Poor, a Strategy to End Poverty." Now, that sounds noble, right? You bet it does. Ending poverty. Who could argue with that? But peel back the layers, and it's a Trojan horse for revolution. What was the core of their strategy? It was simple. Overload the welfare system to the breaking point. They argued that the existing welfare programs, think the war on poverty under LBJ, they were too stingy and too bureaucratic, leaving millions of eligible poor people unenrolled. What was their plan? To mobilize militant anti-poverty groups to flood the system with claims, encourage every single eligible person to sign up, demand every benefit, and push the bureaucracy into chaos. Why? Because when the system buckles under the weight, when welfare rolls explode, budgets burst, and local governments go bankrupt, it would trigger a massive political crisis. Now, that crisis, this was their hope, would force the federal government to step in with a guaranteed minimum income for all. This is from the 60s, guys. For a guaranteed minimum income for all, effectively redistributing wealth on a national scale and dismantling the capitalist framework. It's not about helping the poor. It's never been about helping the poor. It's about using them as pawns to collapse the system and rebuild it in a socialist image. Now, let me break down the steps that they outlined. These are their words, because this isn't some vague theory. It's a calculated playbook. Step 1, mass enrollment. Get organizers on the ground, in the streets, in the communities, signing up everyone who's even remotely eligible. Don't just help them, agitate, stage protests, disrupt welfare offices, make demands that expose the system's flaws. Step 2, overload and crisis. As claims skyrocket, the costs balloon, explode. Local and state budgets can't handle it. Think bankruptcies, service cuts, public outrage. Now, the poor suffer more in the short term, but that's the point. Amplify the misery to force change. Step 3, federal intervention. The chaos pushes the Democratic Party, which controlled Congress and the White House in 1966, to abandon incremental reforms and go big. A guaranteed minimum income, nationalized welfare, wealth redistribution. Step 4, systemic transformation. Boom. Capitalism crumbles under the weight of entitlements and, hello, centralized control. Cloward and Piven weren't hiding their intentions. They wrote it all out plain as day. Now, I'm going to zoom out to the historical context because this didn't happen in a vacuum. The 1960s were a powder keg. Civil rights movement, Vietnam War protests, urban riots. Lyndon Johnson's Great Society was pumping billions into welfare, Medicare, Medicaid, expanding the nanny state like never before. But for radicals like Cloward and Piven, it wasn't enough. They saw poverty not as a problem to solve through opportunity and hard work, but as a weapon to wield against the system. They drew inspiration from Saul Alinsky's community organizing tactics: disrupt, agitate, polarize. Does this sound familiar to what you're seeing right this second? And they put it into action through groups like the National Welfare Rights Organization, which Piven helped found. They mobilized thousands. Welfare rolls doubled in the late 60s and early 70s, from about 6 million to over 10 million. New York City nearly went bankrupt in 1975, partly due to skyrocketing welfare costs. Now, I would ask, was that a coincidence? Hardly. Their strategy worked on a local level, but nationally, it backfired, leading to welfare reforms under Nixon and later even under Bill Clinton that added work requirements. Yet the seeds were planted. Now, fast forward to today, January 29, 2026, and tell me this isn't unfolding right before your eyes. Now, as a libertarian conservative, I look at the state of our nation and I see Cloward Piven on steroids. Take the border crisis. Millions pouring in unchecked. Overwhelming immigration systems, schools, hospitals, and welfare rolls. It's not compassion. It's engineered overload. Cities like New York and Chicago are declaring emergencies. Budgets are bursting. And who's footing the bill? Taxpayers. The federal government steps in with bailouts, expanding its reach. Does it sound familiar? Or look at student loans. Trillions in debt, forgiven or deferred, encouraging more borrowing, more defaults. The system groans under the weight. And what do they propose? More federal control over education. Then there's the national debt, $38 trillion and climbing, fueled by endless entitlements. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, these programs are insolvent. But instead of reforming them to promote self-reliance, politicians simply pile on more. Universal health care pushes, free college, reparation talks. It's classic Cloward Piven. Overload until collapse, then save us with bigger government. And don't get me started on the market crash that we just saw. I know it's got some recovery. Gold, silver, stocks. In a very brief hour, they tanked trillions. It is not acceptable. So I ask, is it a coincidence that amid geopolitical tensions, tariff wars, and shutdown threats, by the way, unless something happens, it goes on tomorrow, the system buckles? Or is it the fruit of decades of fiscal irresponsibility amplified by radical policies that echo this strategy? Now, from my libertarian lens, I'm speaking for me, not for Bell. This is monstrous because it assaults the very foundation of our Constitution. Article 1, Section 8, huge fan, limits federal powers. Where's the clause for guaranteed income or wealth distribution? Because I didn't see it there. The 10th Amendment reserves powers to the states and people, not central planners in D.C. Cloward and Piven's plan treats individuals as cogs in a machine, eroding personal liberty and destroying property rights. It's anti-American. We built this nation on self-reliance, free markets, and limited government, not dependence and crisis exploitation. They saw the poor as tools for revolution. I see them as fellow citizens deserving opportunity, not handouts that trap generations in poverty. And conservatives, we know the score. Family, faith, fiscal responsibility. These are absolutely under attack. Their strategy weaponizes compassion to divide us, pitting classes against each other in a Marxist fever dream. It's playing out in real time with identity politics, cancel culture, and endless crises that demand more state intervention. Climate emergencies, overload energy grids with mandates. Crime waves, defund police, then cry for federal oversight. It's all connected. But here's the hope. Dark side faithful. Awareness is our weapon, and it's the last one we have. As constitutional conservatives, we fight back with truth, votes, and vigilance. I have to add this part. I don't want to, but I did type it. Support leaders who cut spending, secure borders, and promote free enterprise. Educate your neighbors if you got the guts. Share this podcast. Don't let the monsters win. Wrapping up, the Cloward Piven strategy isn't ancient history. It's a living threat, eroding our freedoms and unfolding before our very eyes. From 1966 to 2026, the playbook hasn't changed. Overload, crisis, control. But we, the people, hold the power. Stay vigilant, and you'll stay free. Now, this is the dark side of the podcast. Signing off. Hit like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below, and follow at the podcast on X for more. Keep it dark, keep it real. And we're going to see you guys next time. And I'm giving myself a round of applause, Bell, because I don't care who you are or what you think. I am dead on right about every single bit of that. I am 100% correct. I just didn't think I would see it come to this level of fruition before my very eyes. I just didn't think. I was hoping I would be dead by now, that I would be spared from this. Because the way I see it, Bell, there's no stopping this now. There is absolutely no stopping this. Everything that Cloward and Piven talked about is coming to pass. They are literally following the playbook. And when you need media coverage, you have Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals, which you see in play on every goddamn CNN panel that I ever see out there. That's what I see. And it just seems like it has created this perfect storm that nothing can really stop it now. This will happen. The system will be overloaded. The system will buckle under its own weight. And when that happens, the only thing left is central authority. Now, who do you think craves that kind of central authority and makes rugged individualism, meaning people who are self-sustaining, people who don't need the government in every aspect of their life? Who do you think that this is going to favor? What we see out there right now? I mean, we literally have people in Minnesota that are protesting immigration and customs enforcement from doing their and completing their specifically constitutionally enumerated powers. They don't want that. These people are literally, and I'm no fan of government. You know I'm no fan of government, Bell. You never get up and say, yeah, we need more government in my life. You'll never hear me say that, ever. But for some reason, as soon as the government's doing its job, and I support them for doing their fucking job, for taking their paycheck, but actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, suddenly I'm the radical. Suddenly I'm the bad guy. Suddenly I am the heartless monster that just wants to see boots on necks. You are so wrong about this, around so much of this shit. But you know what the fun part is, and this is actually my favorite part, Bell, is you're going to get everything that you think you want. But I want you to tell me if you like what you get. Socialism is for the people. It's not for the socialist. They don't want to live under the system that they set up and prescribe for you. We call them penthouse Bolsheviks, limousine liberals. But they have no intention of living under the crushing boot, the weight of tyranny that they're going to put on you. They're the gardeners and you're the garden. This is real.